British, comes from the British. It's for dried flowers. Take a stick of dry flour in it or whatever you want to. But this is one that I brought last week or last month meeting. That's semi-finished, and what I want to do is go over how to glue them up. Not so much maybe turn them, but to show you what I have found out in research on how to glue up the different pencils. For supplies, you need the colored pencils, and either have the heptagon shape or round pencils. And right now is a good time of year for me to buy them. With this project, it works out fine with all the school teacher specials. Instead of paying $3 for 24 pencils, you get them for $1. There's 144 pencils here. So it can, if you go to spend $4 for 24, it's running up in the house category of wood to buy. And David here, he'd appreciate me being cheap. So, with the hexagon, I'll show you how I worked it out to get by with just regular wood glue. The round pencils, because of their shape, I experimented with a 2-part epoxy polymer resin. Of course, with the resin, you need some measuring and mixing cups, some rubber gloves, and tape. I've got some duct tape I use, whatever masking tape would be cheaper. Rubber bands, glue brush, and stir sticks. I probably missed something else. So with the hexagon pencils, you got 6 sides, 120 degrees to a side. So they work out real nice as far as being tight. And what I've done with those is I use just plain regular Titebond 3 wood glue on those pencils. And because of the lack of a void or a small void between them. So I figure out whatever size. I think that one had 60 pencils in it, I believe, or so. But anyway, what I do is figure out what size I'm trying to make. Whatever rough size blank you want. Then I just lay them out. These are all the same color, so I'm not worried about orientation or anything. You just get them all laid out. And then I coat them with the wood glue, spread the wood glue around the whole thing. Got the rubber gloves on, and then just take them and peel the tape off into your tight circle, and then just start putting rubber bands on. But it's like a segmented bowl with the angles in it. You get the tight closure here, and your glue is not trying to fill any big voids, so it will hold it together.
Do you put it on the tape, on the duct tapes to start with, just to put the glue on it?
Just to keep them from rolling around and going all over the place. Just something to hold them down. So,
Usually how many you, talk to them how big you can make them on?
depends on how big you want to make them. There's, you know, if you want to end up with a 5-inch, 4-inch diameter, or kind of reverse engineer it on what you want to finish with. You're going to lose the outside layer of pencils just getting it square rounded. So take that into account when you're figuring out what your finish size you're shooting for. The biggest drill bit I've got is a 5/8 drill bit, so that's why I hadn't, with the weed pot, why I didn't make anything real big or anything, because I just drill it out.
Does that, the finish that's on the pencil, does that give you any problem as far as gluing it?
No,
Okay.
it did not with those pencils. I think, from what I've read, most pencils are made out of cedar, they're dry, so I don't, and gluing technology, glue actually penetrates your outer layers and interlocks the molecules. So I think as long as you didn't have something with a pencil with a hard, shiny finish on it, I think you'd be all right. But when I did that other one or passing around, it didn't blow apart or anything. But just get a good coat of glue on it, and you know, I've got a bigger sheet of plastic or whatever to work with, so it drips on won't drip on the work surface too bad. But I don't know if I was blind luck, beginner's luck or whatever, but I didn't have any voids in there, nothing blew out. So I let it sit for at least 2 days. Normally with the glue, I'll start working with it after 24 hours if you're gluing up flat work or something. But I didn't, like Lomax said, using my dull tools to cut with, I didn't want to make sure I didn't have any undue stress on it and blow it apart. So I let it dry the second day. And my theory, I don't know if it's got anything to do with it, but I figured that the center in here is going to take longer to dry than the outside. So I gave it that extra time to make sure it set up nice and firm. Which is, so the hexagon I find with the wood glue. But with the round pencils, you've got a lot more void in there, probably 1/16 of an inch
Show it this way. Turn it this way.
You have that much bigger void.
Can't find it. There.
So I started researching the resins, and I ended up with a polymer resin that is the same thing they use on bar tops or tabletops with the clear. You got to make sure when you order it that you get the clear. Some of it will not dry clear. So you got to specify that. I got this from EastCoastResins.com. I think it was $24 plus shipping. And but you want to mix. It's a one, and you got to make sure you read whatever resin you get, the mixing formula. Some are 3-to-1, some are 2-to-1, some are 1-to-1. So you make sure that you have that ironed out before you start mixing. The polymer will not stick to plastic. So when you see the tabletops where they filled in an edge with epoxy or something, they use a sheet of plastic to make a form, like a concrete form, and then pour in there. So I had some PVC pipe, and I decided to use use that. And I have used some in the past on metal resin on a model railroad making fake lakes or river, and it flows everywhere. It finds a hole or anything. So I took this probably 6 mil plastic and cupped it around the side and then used electrician's tape to hold it shut. And you can see on this one that it's still, the resins are, this resin is self-leveling. So it finds whatever gap it can, and on that one you can tell it came up behind the plastic, behind the tape, up to a certain level. One comment on the internet was doing the big pour like this, was somebody's question was whether it would float out. And on the resin instructions they tell you to do a skim coat first. So I made up a small batch, just enough to seal the bottom, and poured that much first. For mixing cups, the recommendation is to do the hardener first in your mixing cup and the resin second. The viscosity on this is higher than this. So when you pour the resin into the polymer, if you pour it in the center, it kind of displaces it like dropping eggs in the middle of a flour bowl. And so when it makes it easier to stir. You want to make sure it's stirred very well. And I took a guess and I didn't want to have to mess with cleaning up the mixing containers. So I just put an inch mark on a plastic cup on both of them. This is a 1-to-1 ratio. Set it on the table and poured it to the line on both of them, and then poured them into another container to stir them. And when you start stirring, it turns cloudy. And when it's mixed, it's back to clear like it was in the mixing cup. But you want to stir and not whip it. If you whip it like you would a whisk or cooking something, it's going to put too many air bubbles in it. The heat it generates when it sets forces most of the bubbles out if you don't get too many mixed up in it when you're mixing the ingredients. So we got, so I poured a little bit, and then you got to pour it let it sit 4 to 6 hours before you pour some more, or to keep mixing and pouring. So you either need a drying time before the next pour, or to keep going with it. So on the top,
if you mix a pour and let it sit there, will it cold joint itself and then show a line, or?
You've got 4 minutes to mix it, 4 to 6 minutes to pour. And your cold joint, if you start pouring.
Yeah, pour it halfway filled and then let it sit there.
That's why I say either you can do repetitive pours right behind each other,
Yeah.
or if you're going to wait, if it's going to be an hour or something like that for 10 minutes, then you're better off to wait 4 hours before you pour again.
Okay, but when the question is, if you wait 4 hours, then pour again, will the new pour bond with the old pour and not leave a line?
They
In other words,
even,
I see what you got, you fill it all the way up to, I thought maybe just pour somewhere.
well, I chickened out on them. I poured batches at a time. Those like 3 batches in there, and I just waited 4 hours between each batch. With that small gap, the bubbles wouldn't come up immediately. And by the time that all the bubbles came up, you pat the mix that was left over is starting to harden when you got to the top. So I'd go ahead and let it dry for 4 hours, and then I'd make up some more and just try to fill the holes. Because I would end up, on that big one, I ended up like 4 holes that I had to keep going back to. For some reason, they wouldn't fill up. And I don't know if the pencils, I jammed the pencils in the plastic pretty tight, so I don't know if there wasn't enough for it to flow between them. So I had to come through the top, down to the mixture.
I might suggest the problem with the air bubbles and also the uniformity of the pour, if you get a flatbed sander, turn it upside down and put it on that. The vibration will cause the bubbles to raise right out and also level it for you.
Some of it's the temperature. It makes some bubbles as the temperature starts working. Yeah, I tapped on the sides, like trying to get it to settle like a little concrete. It's kind of, get to play mad scientist a little bit. The smaller one, how do you get the, I'm gonna show that. Let me show you.
Now you get it out there.
This, I guess I could have pre-done this, but
With the hexagonal pencils, they will pack well. With the circular ones, I was looking at the way you got it in there. There's some spaces that are bigger
More
spaces.
so.
They're not-
it's not consistent.
Is that going to make a big difference in turning?
I'm not, it probably would show up, but I noticed that I didn't,
I just wondered if, if you put this circular ones together, they're going to pack into a hexagonal anyway. But if you try and get it into the space that they won't pack into a hexagonal form, then you got a problem with the different size spaces.
yeah, I was at the mercy, you're at the mercy of the
Size of the container.
size of the container.
What you
And
need?
that's
Screwdriver?
Screwdriver.
There you go.
It's,
See if that'll work.
I got it, I jammed the pencils in and tried to orient them and eliminate that, but the circumference wasn't quite right to get the neat equal distance at.
Get not enough leverage.
I didn't cut it far enough.
Oh, we have a song.
Do we have power?
You You got power there.
I forgot to bring my screwdriver. And I forgot to bring my hammer. It's amazing how much pressure this PVC still has on its clams back on itself.
You want to cut it on the back? Or
You didn't flash the inside of that pipe?
No, all I did was seal it bottom so it wouldn't leak out. Sorry, I thought that would go a little faster than that. So from there you can see some of the air bubbles. I guess it's got some air bubbles. Yeah. Now if you were doing a bar top, you can take a hair dryer or a torch and heat the bubbles and get them to pop. With this, you can't get to the inside, you can't see the inside, so you're kind of at the mercy of whatever happens in there. With this size, it's nice, it fits right in the jaws of the chuck. You don't have to do a tendon on it or anything. The bigger one, I hadn't really decided what I'm going to make out of it, but you could always take it to the miter saw and chop the end off of it and do a sacrificial block on it and mount it up. Or go many different ways with it. This I had just used roughing gouge to get the epoxy off the outside, and it's real simple to turn. It flaked off real nice. It didn't melt back on itself or anything. Ever. What speed? That's probably 800. You start off at 200 or 300 to make sure it's round, and bring the tailstock up, make sure everything's balanced, and then 800 or 900. You could probably do Tom speed if you want. I've heard he's in the 2000 range.
I didn't know whether the resin would start getting hot.
I haven't noticed anything yet. Of course, I've only done this part, but once you get past that outer shell, there's not much resin left.
So you've done the epoxy resin with the round.
Yeah, these are round pencils, that's round, and these are round pencils.
Would you recommend the round, the hexagonal compared to the round as far
On the smaller size like this, I would do the hexagon. This, you saw me fumbling with this little bundle. To do 144 of them laid out and then trying to roll them up and get rubber bands on them, it's not, your hand can't grip them. So I would think I would stay with the hexagonal if I was going bigger than this, maybe hand size, whatever you want to call it. But I let the epoxy set for 2 days, just like I did the wood glue before I turned it. Tom?
I noticed this has got a few voids on the outside of it. If you're turning it, you run into voids on the inside. Just pick up a little epoxy and fill that,
You could.
let it set up, and then go ahead and turn it back and we'll walk right in.
Yeah. Seems to be very, from the instructions, I don't know if you wanna, it's talking mainly with the instructions about, doing tabletops and doing 2-gallon cores or whatever, but that's what came with the polymer. But they seem to be very forgiving. If you mix, if somehow you got your mixture off and it's spongy and soft, they tell you just scrape off everything you can, mix it right, pour it back on. So it's very, very forgiving. And even instead of on the yachts, they're using this resin for gluing down decking when they're replacing teak decking. They're using resins now instead of glues or whatever they used to use. It's low odor. You can do it in the house. You need something with containment feel, because it does, it drips all over the place.
You just put a little place flat on the bottom, put some tape on it to hold it on, made a little teeny pour, and you just poured it down, let it drip and run down to the inside, just enough to set the bottom, and then let that set up.
Let that set up so that I
So
didn't
it
flow,
sealed
the
the bottom.
pencils didn't flow out and seal that bottom, so I didn't have to worry about any more leaks out of the bottom, and then finish it. But it's, yeah. Anyway, another brain part.
What kind of viscosity is that?
That's what I was gonna say, viscosity. Viscosity is about like a thick pancake syrup when it's mixed. This is about like an egg yolk, I mean a white egg, or white corn egg, yellow egg, whatever. And then this is much thicker and glumpier. And on my marks, using this, with this one, I over poured it just at scotch. That's a technical term. Because no matter how much, with this one, everything comes out of the mixing container. With the resin, no matter how much you scrape, you still got some stuck here. And since you don't have all day to wait for it to finish running out, I overfilled my mix by just a tad to make up for what would be left in this cup. If that makes any sense.
Would it be possible that instead of using the plastic, you use the paper cups that have the wax? It might pour out better.
That was one other thing I recommended was wax paper cups, wax cover. And I didn't have any of those, and I've got containers of these and a bag of those I had in the shop for a long
I
time.
had a whole bunch of those, and the problem that I had with them was when I put anything that was a solvent in, it
Melted.
dissolved it, so I stopped using plastic.
Yeah, nothing like picking up the cup and there's the bottom of the cup still sitting on the bench. Yeah.
I
I've been there,
I
done
made a
that.
mistake putting the stripper in that cup, and as I was carrying it to where I wanted to strip it, it went to the bottom.
I did mineral spirits. It's, and then just your container that you pour the two parts into, make sure it's big enough to get you both parts into, and so you don't have to slide them around. You're worried about flopping out. The design on your weed pot, and Hal and Richard and I were talking about it before we started, is it's very interesting to me, this line. And you know that that line's not all the way through. but trying to visualize what kind of cut is going to leave what kind of exposure. When you got a soft curve here, you almost get a almost kind of a figure 8 type shape. And then on the convex, you got, it's pretty straight. And I guess what I really need to do is, you know, and then down here, your sharper angle, you're getting more closer to the dot. I don't know if we got any artists here. I don't know what you would call that. It's not serpentine, but it's a serpentine effect. So I guess what I really need to do is just take a piece and then just start putting different cuts on it and see what kind of effect it gives. But there ought to be some way to make it predictable. I guess is where I'm going to. Is to make it predictable.
It's probably an algorithm for that.
Scientists.
Yeah, it's called the colored pencil algorithm.
It's on the internet, isn't it?
Newton's fifth law.
So, but did anybody want to try turning this and see what you want to make out of it? Or? Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Like step out.
Try turning? Yeah, like taking it home and turning it?
No,
No. With the camera.
So you'll be on TV.
It's
Go ahead and turn it a little bit.
Try to turn.
You turned that one, did you?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
good.
go ahead.
yeah, I turned the other one.
You turned it. Go ahead and push it out.
But the it's about 1200 RPM. I think that the setting is on the.
You turn it without the tailstock.
Yeah. You don't have to. It's
What would happen if you set one of your turning dimension to the width of the pencil, so that when at the very bottom of the turn, you're getting the line of one of the pencils. Diameter of the pencil, right? So if the pencil is 1/4 inch thick, if you brought your depth down 1/4 inch to pick up the line of the next pencil.
yeah, you're getting into the next pencil with the hexagon. That's where you're getting into the different. You're getting into the short reveal. How about we use that the lead reveal? You're getting into the different reveal because of the height from the center. So there you got a diamond type, but I'm getting a white. The epoxy's white, so that means I didn't mix it right.
Well, that's a white pencil. Right
Or it
there.
could be a white pencil.
Yeah.
It's white pencil.
Yeah, it is. It's white lead. I'm sorry. Yeah. It'll be interesting when I finish this. With this one, I always have to use sandpaper. Well, if you take, with these pencils, if you take sandpaper, you start getting the purple all smeared. So I scraped it down and cleaned that up. And then I use so I thought I would seal it and then try to sand it. So I sprayed it with shellac or varnish. I had a spray can of varnish. And it still, the varnish even made the lead bleed. That's why you get the little, it's a little white, it's not real crisp where the lead is. And that's what the bottom looks like. That's what happens when you try to sand that. But you could, yeah, I guess they,
If you're good at the skew, you don't need the sand.
it's coming, just wait. I've always had trouble of making, even with free wood like Hal's got, I've wasted it. And I have to get over that. How is you going to learn if you don't experiment and throw pieces away? Is that right?
No, don't throw it away, bring it to my house and I'll burn it.
Oh, okay.
Stay warm.
We'll still get some use out of it then.
Well, I do. You keep it getting warm in the winter.
So that went too deep. It ended up showing wood instead of.
That's a nice effect too.
But then the ink is, I mean, the lead is bleeding over. What kind of cut do you want to try now?
What effect do you get with the scraper on that? With the lead?
It worked, that's the way I finish most of mine is with the scraper. I've got some little half-inch round nose scraper, and that's what I had to do to get, since I couldn't sand it.
What would be the pros and cons of using like a wood dowel for the core?
That might be something to do to help you orient.
To help orient in a circle, and then with a bud vase, you'd be drilling most of it out anyway.
Yeah. That would, then again,
Would you have
the problem
it
with
loaded?
getting this the right size where you keep
Right.
them equal distance would be the same thing on your dowel, but in reverse of getting the right circumference where they would be.
Yeah, you'd have to
Unilateral.
work out the circumference
Yeah.
with the diameter of the pencil.
Yeah, they save you $10 worth of pencil right there.
I guess you really have to,
Dowels are more than that,
I
though.
mean, all these interesting patterns that you're coming up with, can you predict it? I think that's what This guy can figure it out.
Yeah. Don't. I guess the only thing that I've figured out so far is if you closer to 90 degrees perpendicular to the center is the more of a dot you're going to get.
Right, yeah.
So I don't,
It looks like you were getting, when you first did the cuts, you were getting teardrop shapes. And if you taper that, you can extend the teardrop so that you end up with a round and a long thin one going up. So you could have a sequence of teardrops going right up at the length of them in terms of the aspect of the design.
yeah. So this could be a thing where you'd make a cut, you take a 1/16 of an inch or a 32nd of an inch off and you stop it and look at it.
Yeah. Scrape a little bit, look.
Scrape a little bit, move on, and then see what you want to change or don't change. Or so it's.
You
But I
go
like-
drilling a hole in the center. You said, oh, you got what, 3/8?
5/8.
5/8?
Yeah. But you could. That just happens to be the biggest bit I've got. So, just used a regular tailstock adjustment or attachment. 5/8 works. Seems to work. You can go smaller than that if you're gonna do with smaller flowers, I guess. But it's I guess that's really all I had to show you.
You're good, thank
But
you.
if anybody can figure out how to help me figure out that,
There's no cracks on that.
could
That's turning a lot of.
Glue a lot
Yeah.
of pencils.
yeah, nothing like experience.
Are all colored pencils or dual colored pencils have the same core? In other words, I'm guessing
Same
from the
thing.
smearing that's probably closer to a crayon pencil. Do they make colored pencils with
Yeah.
different centers?
It'd be
Yeah.
just like a lead, they have different hardness.
Yeah,
Because these are,
yeah, you were talking about it smearing. Maybe there's colored pencils that wouldn't
These-
smear as much.
They're
these I got
expensive.
at 12 or 25 cents at a closeout, and they're artist pencils. So they're, it's,
Good quality artist, but like, pay $2 for a colored pencil, one pencil.
Yeah, Prismacolor.
but Bateau, have you heard of Bateau?
I'm thinking like, Prismacolor or something like that, those are like $2 a piece.
And there's,
They definitely have a different size, different kind of core.
these were $5 or $6 for 12, original product, retail. And then these are the Office Max Crayola. So imagine it's got a different, like Rick saying, the true artist pencils
Very expensive.
very expensive. You get different hardnesses depending on your shading or whatever you're
And
going to
even
do.
some of those are, they're not as good as they could be, because you sharpen them and the points keep breaking up. So I can't imagine what these.
Have you tried exposing them after you've done that to a heat gun to see if it flows?
No.